Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the NFL Coverage. I am your host here, Coach Strib. We're going to go over some statistical leaders, go over standings, and the games that happened, transpired this past week, kind of wrap up week 2, get into all the numbers and stuff, and then talk about going into looking to week 3 matchups and things like that. So we're going to go straight into it. So, week 2. Thursday night, Washington Commanders beat the Packers beat the Commanders 27-18. And on Sunday, we have the Rams beat the Titans 33-19. Seahawks beat the Steelers 31-17. Bills beat the Jets 30-10. Lions beat the Bears 52-21. Cowboys barely beat the New York Giants 40-37 in a very exciting game in overtime. I'll kind of talk about that game a little later. But if you didn't watch that game, you missed out on a really good game in terms of just a nail-biter. Defense was not being played. Anyway, Ravens beat the Browns 41-17. Niners beat the Saints 26-21. Patriots beat the Dolphins 33-27. Bengals beat the Jaguars 31-27. The Cardinals beat the Panthers 27-22. Colts barely beat the Broncos 29-28. Eagles beat the Chiefs. Another close game there towards the end, 20-17. Falcons beat the Vikings 20-6. And then Monday night, Bucks beat the Texans 20-19. Very close 1 point. A lot of close games. And the Chargers beat the Raiders 20-9. So going over the standings in the AFC East. I'm going to just list this from an order from number 1 to 4. AFC East, Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins. AFC North, Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns. AFC South, Colts, Jaguars, Texans, Titans. AFC West, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs. NFC East, Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. NFC North, Packers, Vikings, Detroit, Chicago. NFC South, Bucks, Buccaneers, Falcons, Panthers, Saints. NFC West, 49ers, Cardinals, LA Rams, Seattle Seahawks. Statistical leaders, passing yards, Russell Wilson, 618 yards. Again, I'll kind of touch more on Russell Wilson a little later. Passing touchdowns, Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff are tied for 6 passing touchdowns at number 1. Receiving yards, Neighbors, 238. Receiving touchdowns, Johnston for the Chargers at 3. He's also tied with Odunze and Ibuka. I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. But for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're all tied for, and Amon St. Brown are all tied at first with 3 receiving touchdowns. Rushing yards, Jonathan Taylor at 236. Rushing touchdowns, we have Javonte Williams for for Dallas at 3. It's tied first place between Williams, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, and James Cook at 3 rushing touchdowns. Interceptions, Bynum with 2 interceptions for the Colts, tied at first place with Jordan Battle for Cincinnati Bengals. They both have 2 interceptions. Defensive tackles, we have Bobby O. I'm not going to say his last name. Bobby O, linebacker for the Giants at 26 tackles. Sacks, Harold Landry, 3.5. Tied at first with Myles Garrett at 3.5. And I think early prediction, I think Myles Garrett's going to lead the league in sacks this year. But again, we'll see. But he's starting the season off strong. Now, getting into where are my notes? Perfect. So performance alerts, again, I was going to talk about a couple players. Russell Wilson, even though New York lost, Russell Wilson looked astronomically better than the first game. First game, it almost looked like, yeah, he's not going to finish the season as the starter. This past game, he looked way better. He threw an interception there late. It kind of cost him the game. But he threw for 450 yards with 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. He looked so much better, 30 for 41, way better. If he continues to play like this, I do think New York is going to be better than they were last year. And I think he could potentially I think he has a good shot at not only being named the guy, but being for sure the guy as also being like top 5 in passing yards this season. But again, we'll have to see. It was only game 2. Dak Prescott, again, they played the Dallas. Dak Prescott, he also had a pretty good game. Again, he threw an interception as well, but 38-52, 361 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, interception. Dallas is, we'll talk about Dallas and New York. I'll actually hold that point for a little later because that's one of the discussion points I have. Another performance alert, Jonathan Taylor, 25 carries for 165 yards. Obviously, he's leading the league in rushing yards now. I was actually a little bit, not confused, but Baltimore, they won their game, but Derrick Henry only had like 23 rushing yards. So I'm curious if that might be something to keep eye on down the road, and in the fact that the Ravens might struggle to get the run game going because they probably game plan very heavily against the run for the Ravens. But we'll have to see because the Derrick Henry got completely handled when it came to the run game last game. We'll see if they make adjustments and get their run game going because that really opens up the pass game for them. Neighbors for New York Giants. I got Neighbors and Robinson. They're both receivers for New York Giants. Neighbors, 9 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. Had a beautiful catch there late in the 4th quarter. Just blows by the defender, catches it, basket over top. I mean, it was fantastic. Russell threw just an absolute rainbow right into the basket. So Neighbors, 9 catches, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns. Robinson, 8 catches, 142 yards, and a touchdown there to make up for all of Russ's passing touchdowns. And in that 5, or my 5th performance alert, Mac Jones. I was curious to see how Mac Jones was going to fare. He's with the 49ers now. He's not with New England anymore. And Brock Purdy is going to be out for a few weeks, as well as Joe Burrow's going to be out for a few weeks. They're injury reserve. So I was actually curious to see if how Mac Jones was going to fare. And not only did they come out with the win, but Mac Jones played pretty well. 26 for 39, 249 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. So Mac Jones, at least at this point, is kind of showing he could be a reliable backup, a solid backup, or potentially maybe after this year get traded to be a starter somewhere. Again, it's only been 1 game. We'll see how he fares the next 3 or 4 games-ish, depending on how long Brock Purdy's out. But it looks like 49er has a quarterback they can rely on to continue to win games with Brock Purdy being out. So quick discussion points. I do want to discuss the Pittsburgh Steelers and who did they play? The Steelers and Seahawks. Seahawks won 31-17. And again, this was a game I had on Coach Strib's games of interest or whatever. And I was questioning whether the game before where Aaron Rodgers had a phenomenal debut as a Steeler, was that a fluke or is he going to continue that play? Rodgers had 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So it didn't play as well. Could have been worse, but didn't play as well. And it really, they put in Rudolph. They ended up benching or not playing Rodgers. So now I'm like, okay, was that first game a one-off? You know, this game didn't go as well. 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. Not very good. Couldn't take care of the ball. And was only able to put up 17 points on the board. Gave up 31 points, obviously. So now it's going to be, obviously I have some games of interest that are going to involve Pittsburgh Steelers. But that's just something I kind of have him on my radar about watching Aaron Rodgers individually as the season progresses. Second, Daniel Jones. Is Daniel Jones here to stay? I had people that know me well. I talk about Daniel Jones and how his draft kind of being picked that earlier on kind of shook the whole dynamic of the draft. It was a scramble after that because he was taken a lot earlier than people thought he was going to go. And didn't have much success at New York when he was with the New York Giants. He didn't really show much that at the time that would say, I could be your guy. Well, game 1 with the Colts, pretty good. Game 2 with the Colts, he's looking astronomically better than he has been this far in his career. So I'm thoroughly impressed with Daniel Jones. And my question is he here to stay? Again, it's only been 2 games. We'll have to see. We'll have to circle back around once we're halfway through the season at where his numbers are at and how he's doing. But as of right now, the Colts have the #1 total offense in the league. And not only that, but they have the #4 defense. So you have top 5 offense, the #1 offense, top 5 defense. That usually is a combination for a Super Bowl contending team. Again, I understand it's early. We're only week 2. But as of right now, as things sit, that's what they're looking like. They have a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. He's leading the league right now. And you have a quarterback that seems to be taking care of the ball, making the right reads, and putting the ball into the end zone. So that will be another player I'm going to be keeping my eye on as the season progresses to see, can he maintain this level of play? Because in this league, it's all about, can you maintain high levels of play? Either can you maintain it, and or can you get to it towards the end of the season and maintain it? We all kind of know really it's all about playing your best game going into the playoffs. First, you got to make the playoffs. So you got to play well enough in the regular season to make the playoffs. And then when you get to the playoffs, you have to maintain high level of play. So we've seen it before where you look at, I forget what year it was, but Miami Dolphins was the hottest team in the league. They were undefeated up to one point. They couldn't be beat because they were playing their best ball earlier on. Later in the season, they kind of came down off of that, didn't play so well, and go in the playoffs, get absolutely mollywopped week 1, or get bounced down in the wild card. And we've also seen the opposite. The prime example is the 2020, or is it 2019? The year Tampa Bay Bucks won the Super Bowl, we saw the opposite. They started the season off very rough. They get to their bye week. After their bye week, on the second half of the season for them, they start playing better ball. They start getting it together, and they're going into the playoffs with all this momentum. Next thing you know, they're winning the Super Bowl. So that's what it's really all about. And the question is, can Daniel Jones continue this level of play for the Colts? Another discussion I do want to mention is, and that I talked about with Dak and Russell Wilson. I think Dallas and New York, the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants are in the same bucket. By the same bucket, I mean, I think they're going to be two teams that are going to be top offenses. I think both teams will be top 10 offenses in the league, but I think their defense is going to be bottom 5 defense. And it's going to be one of those teams where it's going to come to, if they can just outscore you, and they're literally just going to have to depend on just outscoring. Like, I mean, they're not going to rely on defense getting stops. Their game plan is going to be to score every possession. And it's a very, very hard type of football to play, and I don't think it's sustainable. But it's going to be one of those teams where offensively they're going to put up numbers, they're going to average a lot of points per game, but their defense is going to give up a lot of points. And a lot of their games, I think all their games are going to be very high scoring. And so I'm curious to see how these teams develop as we get further into the season. Last discussion topic I want to talk about are the Green Bay Packers. We all know this past offseason, right before the season started, the Dallas Cowboys trade away Micah Parsons. And Dallas Cowboys tried to justify the trade. They tried to explain that, it's all about the betterment of the team as a whole, not individuals, and what they can get in the future with their first round picks they got for them, et cetera, et cetera. You can say what you want. As of right now, it is not bearing fruit. It might down the road, but Dallas's total defense is 31st in the league, which is second to last, 32 teams. So their defense went from last year, last year they ended up finishing like 10th or 11th. They finished not too bad. They started the season off rough, but their total defense wasn't too bad last year. They ended up finishing the season pretty well. So they go from that to a solid defense, 10, 11, 12. They are second to last. What's interesting is Packers defense last year was 17th overall in total defense. This year, they are third in the league. And I do think, again, I don't think Micah Parsons is the sole reason that they're the third best defense, but he was a big factor and a big pickup because he's getting pressure to the quarterback. And I do think they had a solid I think they would have been a better defense than 16th. I think they would have been a better defense than they were last year, but I don't know if I would say they would be number 3 in the league without Micah Parsons, because he is such a big factor. Even if he's not getting a lot of production in terms of points and stats, the fact they have to double team him most plays is allowing somebody else to go off, if that makes sense. So I do find it interesting that I think with the Packers, where are they at? Packers got the number 3 defense. Oh my gosh. I gotta get my notes together. Packers have the number 3 defense. So their offense is 15th. So they're literally middle of the pack offensively. If they can improve, but they're 2-0 right now. They are 2-0. I think if they can improve their offense to be a top 10 offense productivity-wise, I think Packers have a good chance to be one in the talks of a Super Bowl contending team. It's very early to say, but I'm saying if they continue at this level of play, they don't need to score a lot of points if you got a top 5 defense in the league. You don't need to score 40, 50 points. You probably need to score 24, 28. Defense holds them to 20, 21. That's a combo. Like I said earlier, it's a good combo for a championship contending team. So that's kind of all the discussions I wanted to point out that I've noticed this past week. And for Coaches Strib's games of interest, I only have 3. I actually don't have that many this week because I don't really have too much expectations for some of these games. But I have Chiefs and New York Giants. Oh, so first, let me go over the matchups this past next week. Thursday night, so this comes out Wednesday. If you're watching this day, this comes out. Tomorrow, Miami and Buffalo Bills play at Buffalo. Not really game of interest. I think Buffalo Bills, I think it's a solid win for them. I think Miami has the talent to beat them, but from what I've seen these past 2 games, the chemistry is not there at all. I don't know what happened in the offseason between the chemistry that they had, but it's not there. I do think they have the talent. But Sunday, Colts at Titans. You know my Titans. Pittsburgh at New England. The Jets at Buccaneers. Las Vegas at Washington. LA at Philly. Atlanta at Carolina. Cincinnati at Minnesota. Houston at Jacksonville. Green Bay at Cleveland. Denver at LA Chargers. New Orleans at Seattle. Cardinals at San Francisco. Dallas at Chicago. Chiefs at New York. And Detroit at Baltimore. So I have Chiefs and the New York Giants as a game of interest. The reason why this is a game of interest to me is because, one, Chiefs are 0-2. Both teams are 0-2. But we're talking about the reigning AFC champions are 0-2 to start the season. And if they lose this one, I think Chiefs, as the fan base, I think they go into panic mode going 0-3. Because I can't remember the last time they went 0-3. It's probably been a while. It's probably been over 10 years because they've gone to the AFC Championship 10 years in a row. I think they might have won it 10 years in a row. But I know they've at least gone 10 years in a row. And so it's at least, and I don't think they've gone starting the season 0-3. So it's been a hot minute since they've gone 0-3. So I'm curious to see, can the Chiefs get a win on the board and get some momentum going? That's from the Chiefs' perspective. New York's perspective, I don't think they go into a panic if they start 0-3. I think you start looking at Russ, and I think Ruff gets on the hot seat. They go 0-3, depending. If Russ goes out and throws for 300 plus yards and gets 2 or 3 touchdowns again, I don't think they look at Russ. I think you start looking at the defense. But the heavy the head that wears the crown. The quarterback's going to take the hit for the team not being successful, even if they're producing, and it's really their defense. That's just how the media, and that's just how the media works. But I don't think New York really panics, because as long as Russ is producing individually, I think New York thinks they have their guy going into next year, or I think they can figure it out, because I think New York is more of a long game for them. If you're the reigning AFC champions and you went to the Super Bowl last year, I don't think there's a long game play. You want to be dominant right here, right now, because you run the AFC. So that's why that's interesting for me. Who's going to get this win? Because I think New York Giants, I think come week 10, I think they could have a winning record. Talent-wise, I think they have the talent. I really do think they have the talent. When Russ is on his game, he was playing absolutely phenomenal. They just have a absolute talent, downfield, slot. You can put him anywhere, running. You can put him anywhere on the field, and he's going to be a problem. So I think talent-wise, they can really be a solid team this year. But they got to go through the Chiefs. And so I'm trying to who gets their first win in this game, because somebody's leaving this game going 0-3 to start the season. That's my first game of interest. Second one, Steelers and Patriots. Really, the main reason why this is a game of interest for me is because of Aaron Rodgers. I talked about can he sustain this level of play. You had one really good game. You had one not so good game. The third game, which one is he going to be? Is he going to have another good game? Is he going to have another bad game? Because one time is a one-off. One time's an outlier. 2 times, you're starting to become a pattern. So if he has another good game, now it's like, okay, he had that one bad game. Maybe he'll probably have more good games than not. If he comes out and has another bad game and throws more interceptions and touchdowns or not very good completion percentage, then he has more bad games than good. And that one good game at this point is a one-off. And most of his games have been not so good. Now, again, we're talking week 3. I understand that. But patterns start low until they develop into big patterns. And so I'm curious to see what pattern will he start. And that's going to be week 3. He's going to start a pattern of good games, or he's going to start a pattern of bad games, because he has one of each so far. So that's the other game that I have a game of interest. I'm just curious to see how Aaron Rodgers is going to bounce back. As a Aaron Rodgers fan, I obviously want him to come out 400 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, and they get the dub easy. That's what I want to happen. But obviously, it's not about what I want. It's about what happens. And that's why that will be a game of interest for me. Last but not least, if the Titans play, that's going to be a game of interest. Your boys raised in Nashville, Tennessee. Go Titans. So that's going to be a game of interest. And really, it comes down to, one, Colts are a 3.5-point favorite. They're expected to be a close game. I think Titans are kind of like a lower tier version of the Giants to me. What by that I mean, I think they have the talent. I just don't think that they're executing at the level they need to. They have Calvin Ridley, who had 1,000 yards receiving last year. You got your quarterback, Cam Ward. If you look at the numbers, the box scores, it doesn't look great. If you watch the game, he looks like a year 2, year 3 quarterback with receivers that can't catch the ball. A lot of drops being had. He's throwing the balls where they need to be. Receivers dropping them. He's making the right checks. He's making the right throws. There's some sacks he's taking that you could argue. I'm not saying he's having a perfect game, because there are some decision-making things that he's making that aren't the best. But for the most part, his game looks good. He doesn't look like he's freaking out in the pocket. He's not making a lot of rookie mistakes from a decision-making perspective that you would expect. Not a lot of them. There's a few that creep up every now and then. But for the most part, he looks almost like a seasoned quarterback. But the chemistry's not there between the receivers. The route, like sometimes they're running the wrong routes, or they're getting mixed up on the routes. They're not on the same page. There's a lot of just miscues that are happening, which are fixable. They're in-season fixable. Like, you don't have to wait till the offseason to fix this stuff. It's in-season fixable. I do think there is some offensive line stuff that needs to be worked on. But that's neither here nor there. He's getting the ball off, and there's just a lot of misses. So I could see the Titans as, I think they're literally like 2 or 3 weeks away from it clicking and them starting to get it together, right? Because they have the talent. Will it happen? We'll have to see. But I believe they have the talent to do it. It's just about, can the chemistry get formed, and can they get on the same page in time to actually make something of this season? So that's why that's also a game of interest. And it's going to be against a very well-respected team at this point. So they're going to go up against the number 1 offense. Now, unfortunately, Titans have the worst defense in the league. Nothing I can do about that. Not right. Part of that is because the offense is getting a lot of 3 and outs. Offense is putting the defense in bad positions. So some of it might be because of that. I think if the offense wasn't as bad, then no, wait. Sorry. The defense is 25th. But I think it's lower because the offense is putting the defense in bad positions. And when you get 3 and outs and your defense is on the field more than your offense, then the other team by default is just going to have more yards. Your defense is going to give up more yards, give up more points if the other team's offense is just on the field longer. It's just a volume game at that point. More plays, more opportunities generally equals more yards, which means lower defensive rating. So I think that would correct itself. I think realistically, if the offense was better, Titans have a middle of the pack defense, maybe 16, 7, anywhere from like that 14 to 17 range, which is, an average defense, middle of the pack. But they have the worst offense in the league. So we'll see. You got the worst offense in the league, and the Colts defense is number 4. So again, we'll have to see. But that is going to do it for Coach Strib's Games of Interest. This is going to do it for this episode of the NFL coverage. I'm excited for this weekend, and I will catch you guys next week.